All right, welcome everyone. Akasha here. Thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to the Bliss Life Global Healing Series. This time we're talking about how to awaken your intuitive gifts. And as we know, we've been seeing this happen as we break down, as the world has its breakdowns, as our lives have their breakdowns, as our belief systems have their breakdowns. We have the opportunity for something new to be born. And so it's actually a very exciting time where we get to awaken our gifts. So if you've been working with your intuitive gifts and your feminine side and all of that for a while, congratulations. And if you're brand new to it, welcome. So we're so excited to take all of the information and all of the things that are happening right now and use them for an awakening, use them to lift us up to something bigger, better, and higher. So today we have a really, really fun and exciting guest. I'm so happy to have her here, Jennifer Longmore, and she's going to talk about how to navigate the ascension process with the Akashic Records. And we'll talk more about what that is. And she's going to guide you on a process. So make sure that you're ready and you'll want to repeat this. So make sure you tag this. So let's learn a little bit about Jennifer. She's the founder of the #1 Akashic Record Training School, where she's trained thousands of students in over 100 countries. She's personally conducted over 30,000 sessions with people from all walks of life. And while she no longer offers readings, she does amplify light leaders via her business masterminds, mastery programs, so that she can awaken even more souls to their missions at this time. So when she's not running her various companies, you can find her crystal mining, ooh, yeah, with her son, doing Taekwondo with her husband, or hiking with her fur baby. So thank you so much for being here. And let me just unmute you again. Oh, I had to ask to unmute you. Um, can you unmute, hon? Oh,
There
there you
we
go.
go. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Wonderful. So before we dive into like what are the Akashic records? Why are they so important now? Why is it that people really need to understand these? I call it multidimensional layers of who they are and all that information. How did you get to the point where this was something that you knew was part of your purpose?
That's a great question, and thanks again for having me. I'm actually really excited. I'm saying yes to as many of these kind of amazing events put on by amazing people like you because we've got a lot of work to do as light workers. We've got a lot of transmissions to get out there, and so I think I was working in the records at a very young age. I grew up in a very woo family. So I had an opposite experience to the majority of people I know that end up becoming healers because my family was actually very woo. And we went for my first past life regression when I was 4. So we went as a family and then they went as a couple and then I had my own. And so I was used to, I just had weird experiences growing up. I would see orbs all the time at a very young age. Objects would be moving around my room. I didn't realize I was telekinetic at that time. I didn't know how to make sense of that. And then I went to kindergarten, and it turns out that I was freaking a lot of people out just by being me. Right? I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong. And of course, I wasn't doing anything wrong. But the part of me that cares so deeply about people and not wanting people to feel uncomfortable around me, it seemed like no matter what I did, people were uncomfortable because I was just speaking truth. I was just speaking about things that I knew about them, that I thought they knew about them. And I thought that they knew that so and so was going to call and come over for a visit, or any, mundane things and all the rest of it. So I resisted that gift for quite some time. And then in my late teens, I thought, well, all of this resisting and being angry and trying to pretend it's not there isn't making it go away. I guess I should probably figure out what this is and what it actually wants from me and what I'm supposed to do with it. So my mom bought me You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay when I was 17. And then I read The Celestine Prophecy, which is still one of my favorite books, and a few others. But anyways, it opened me up. I had a car accident when I was 21. And my mom did swaps with this woman. So my mom was doing reflexology on her in exchange for doing Reiki on me, because of course I was this strapped student and I needed healing. I had a lot of injuries and of course like emotional wounds and trauma. And I ended up becoming a Reiki master at that age. And I feel like Reiki is like the gateway drug. I joke about that. Like it kind of opens you up to the thing that you're meant to do. And but I was still working as a forensic investigator at that time, and that was challenging already. It's challenging to intuitively know things, and yet you don't have the evidence to prove things. But it was a very toxic environment, of course, and very stressful, and a lot of adrenal fatigue. And so I eventually took the leap and decided to create my own business. But before I did that, I kept getting this recurring dream. And it was this beautiful, thick, sacred document, kind of looking like a Bible, but way bigger and like almost like a leather bound thing with gold edges. And it was Sanskrit. I knew that much. It was Sanskrit, and the pages would flip all night. This whole big book just flip, 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 flip. And I couldn't catch up to it. I was trying to read from it. And I had this immense knowing that I needed to know what this book was trying to tell me. And it was knocking on my door every night for 2 weeks. It just wouldn't go away. So I went to work, and just before I was leaving, and my coworker said to me, like, no offense, but you look really tired. What's going on? And I said, well, I've been having this recurring dream. And she said, well, just ask your guides to tell you what this dream is about. And I thought, oh, of course. Why didn't I think to do that? So I did. And in the middle of the night, I heard, these are the Akashic Records. You must learn them so that you can teach them. Now, I cannot make this up. This is the wildest thing. So that morning, I remember waking up at 8:30 because I finally got enough sleep. And I got a call at 9 a.m., probably, well, like 9:05 a.m. So this man had called my friend's crystal store and asked to book an Akashic record reading. And she said, we don't offer these here, but you should call my friend Jennifer. Well, she didn't know about this dream. She didn't know anything about anything. And so I called her after. I'm like, what was that? And she said, I don't know. It just came out of my mouth. It was like a frog that jumped out of my mouth. So he was my very first client. This was on a Saturday morning, and I saw him first thing on Monday. And then that was kind of history, it's still hard to believe that was that long ago. And so here we are, and I've learned a lot, as you know, right, working the records as well. Like, it's just this never ending university for the universe. Like, you can just never learn enough. There's just always more and more to learn. And I feel like it's such a gift when people come, because I get to support them, of course, but there's never a time I do a reading when I don't learn something new about the universe, or about, I don't know, just some sort of cool thing about the body, or I don't know, just tons of things. Thank you.
Yeah. So I love that. I love those, the stories, that the synchronicities, the things in the way that they line up. And at the time, they're a little bit hard, especially if you're not used to living that way, right? Getting these things to sync up. But this was when you were 21. Was that when you?
Well, that's when the Reiki happened. And then probably about 5 years later, I had this dream. And yeah, and I was running my business part-time under the table, sort of, or like undercover, because I didn't want to bring any attention to the organization, right, that I was working for, because it was highly likely that I could go out on a call to someone that had just come. Like, if someone called anonymously, I could have easily been knocking on their door and been like, oh, you're my client, conflict of interest, right? And those kind of things had happened, where in my first agency, I was knocking on doors from people that I went to high school with, that I literally hung out with, and that was awkward. So I kept that kind of, like, I did Reiki sessions and stuff underground for a long time, and intuitive readings and angel readings and stuff. And then the Akashic Records popped in, and that was kind of a game changer. And after that, probably about a year after that, my guides just really clearly told me that I needed to stop teaching Reiki. And that was weird. It was weird to let that go, because Reiki was such an important part of my journey, and I had no issue with Reiki. Like, I trained a lot of people and I really enjoyed it. But it was only after I let it go, which I think we all realize, right? We get the nudges to do something. It's not until after we let something go that we get the clarity. And so I could see that it literally opened up a floodgate for gazillions of requests all over the world to come and teach over there, or for people to book sessions. I needed to actually just open space that the Reiki was holding. It was almost like there's some new people, as you know, right? We kind of go through this progression, and then there would be newer people on the scene that really needed to take on that next wave of people. And so I just trusted that cycle.
Yeah. Well, we all evolve. And I know when I work with clients who are or who are taking their personal, spiritual, and energetic knowing and work and turning it into a business, there is that, what do I call myself? What do I do? And I'm always explaining, you're you. Right. So you might do Reiki, or you might do this energy medicine technique, or you might have this process, but it comes together in you in a unique way. I love how you put Reiki. It's a gateway drug. I think that it is. It's the perfect thing. I think it should be in kindergarten. I think it should be taught to
Totally.
mothers. It should be taught to women who are pregnant. Like it should be taught right in the home, the very first thing that happens, because it's like turning on the faucet. To me, it's like you finish building a house and now you turned on the electricity, or you turned on the water, and now it can flow. But there's so many other things to do from there. So, well, let's dive in. So, give us a little explanation of how you see and how you experience the Akashic records. I know when I started, it was 35 years ago or something. When I got on my path, I was like, what's this and what's that? And what are all these different things? And then eventually my spiritual name came to me many, many times, trips to Egypt and meditating for 4 hours in the pyramid, and different groups and all the different things. And people kept telling me, you have a spiritual name. And I go, I know, but I don't know what it is, because I was so blocked with the idea that it was kind of a vain thing to like call myself that. And when it finally did come through, which was Akasha, it was just, oh yeah, that feels right, and then it just became my name, and it feels comfortable. But occasionally, people will say, "Well, what does that mean?" so, so explain it to us,
Mhm.
and give us some good, juicy stories of how people
Oh my
experience.
goodness. I have so many stories. You can imagine, right? I've been doing this for, it's hard to believe because I think it's still like 5 years. I have no concept of time. Everything feels like it's about 3 years or 5 years, right? It's
Yeah.
been a long time. Well, the Akashic records are basically an energetic space that hold, the planet has an Akashic record, and the galaxy has an Akashic record, and the universe and the multi-universe, and so on and so on. And then, of course, humans have Akashic records. And it's not even so much that the human has the Akashic record, it's that the soul that's inhabiting this three-dimensional spacesuit is having an Akashic record. And so it holds all the information about us. It holds the themes that we've already mastered, the themes that we still need to master, the gifts that we've mastered, the gifts that we still are here to master, why we chose the parents we did, why we chose to be born at a certain time on the planet, and with a certain, physical appearance, and all the things, right? We choose it all. And so when we tap into the records, it can tell us things like, well, what is my highest timeline? Like, how do I calibrate to my highest timeline? What is my purpose? What's the next iteration of my purpose that's asking to come out? Like, many of us will know what our purpose is, but then I feel like when the Great Awakening hit, right, when we realized we were in it, we were already in it, but we really realized we were in it last year. There was, including myself, I was like, ooh, I've got to consult with my records again and make sure that I'm literally juicing every last ounce of orange juice out of the orange. Like, I want to squeeze it all out. I don't want to leave anything behind. If there's anything I'm missing that I'm really being called to do right now and focus my energy on, please let me know. And so, so the records can tell us all kinds of things, just basic living things, right? Like, even pre-2020, it was going to be able to tell us what's our purpose, what's the next iteration, what are my gifts and talents, what are my archetypes, what are the themes that I'm still mastering. A lot of people will come to me and say, I'm claircognizant. I don't want to be claircognizant. I want to be clairaudient. Or you get it. Man's laughing at me or with me, because it's so true. We'll have a gift that's just so predominant, and there's some of them that are seemingly more tricky than others, right? Like clairsentience can feel like a trickier one because it's all just about what I'm sensing and what I'm feeling. And then people say, how do you know that? And you feel the need to justify, and you just can't. It's just a deep, deep knowing in your body that's a visceral knowingness that really doesn't require any explanation. That's that person's need to have us explain it, right? But it can be a feel like a trickier gift. Same with claircognizance. The amount of times I talk to people that don't want to look like a know-it-all, or were accused of looking like a know-it-all, or they had to bring empirical evidence to their dad, for example. If their dad kept saying, well, how do you know that? Well, I just know it. And so I've learned that these clairs that we're meant to use in this lifetime are also the ones that kind of get poked at when we're younger, because we're needing to build some resiliency with them. We're needing to fortify them. We're needing to just learn how to dance with them and be in the continuum of energy, so that we know what it feels like to question our knowingness, and then we know what it feels like to just operate in faith with our knowingness, for example. So for me, I experience all the clairs. And I would say my strongest one is claircognizance, which is a pain in the butt. At least that's how I viewed it growing up, because I did feel like, I don't know how to tell you why I know. I just know that I know. You know, when this opened up last year, and some of us that are claircognizant, we just knew that we were in it, and we knew there were things that weren't adding up, and we knew that this wasn't going to be a sprint, and we knew a lot of things, but people kept saying, where's your research, or prove it. It's like, I can't, I just know. And that's where the records actually come in really beautifully, because we're going to go through a ton of ascension symptoms right now, and they can help us neutralize them, clear them, calibrate our physical body to be able to hold more light. We're shifting from being carbon to crystalline, not right away, right? It's like a microdosing of that. And so our body needs are changing, the type of food we're changing, the volume of food that we need is changing, the density, the nutrients, all the things to support a body that's just a little bit more crystalline. So going into the records and finding out what that looks like can be really helpful. There was a massive, I mean, it still is, it's astounding to me how much misinformation and disinformation is out there on a lot of things. I'm not even talking about this last year. I'm talking about history. I'm talking about pyramids. I'm talking about all the things. When you go into the records, you'll just know right away whether something we've been told is true or not. And then we free a lot of energy, because we're not following paths that aren't ours, and we're not following paths that are rooted in illusion. And so we get clear right away. Last year, I could tell, I would hear information about various things, various political leaders, various whatever, and I'd be able to vet it through the records just really quickly. Oh, that's true. No, that's not true. That's partially true. Oh, that's two truths and a lie. Okay. Oh, no, that's been inverted. And I would just be able to pick through stuff really quickly. So I wasn't spending 5 hours a day trying to sift through the truth. It would maybe be like 30 seconds, and then I would get on with my day and just be able to focus on my purpose. And then, of course, I wanted to align to my highest timeline, as I shared. I wanted to call forward any ancient wisdom from, I think a lot of us felt like this time was very familiar. This really smells a lot like Lemuria. This really smells a lot like Atlantis. So what are the gifts and talents that I used during that lifetime that either can help the situation right now? What's the wisdom that I might have accumulated at that time that I can bring into the now? But additionally, where did I kind of underutilize them, or where do I, where was I still needing to master some things in that lifetime that I can bring forward now? I know this all sounds very deep, right? But it's actually, it's kind of fun to go through these things.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's like, well, where I live, we work with, I live in the Mayan world, and so I'm constantly not only have had, very vivid experiences of other lives I've had here, but I'm constantly receiving information. I was called first to the Egyptian pyramids, and then here, and Atlantis information comes through all the time, especially for my clients too. And I love that what you're saying is like, what do we know? What, because I believe that the people, we, and even the crystals were kind of put to sleep, right? So in a way, we were disconnected from a lot of this truth, and it's sort of like a time bomb, or something that was set. Things started waking up. You could feel the crystals in the earth that had been programmed or used or held information starting to wake up, and these different things. And so putting the pieces together is phenomenal. I love that. So share some stories of things you've seen, or you or your
Oh,
clients.
wow. Well, I guess if you want me to get really woo, I I have had probably 3 or 4 what I call walk-in experiences. So if anyone knows what a walk-in experience is, if you don't, I'll just share briefly. So sometimes that can happen for people when they've had like a surgery and there's a contract with another soul, and the other soul will say, okay, you're going to leave this body now, but I don't want to come in as a baby. I want to come in as a 50-year-old. So while you have the surgery, I'm going to come into your body and I'm going to take over, I'm going to take over. This will be my new home. And it's a contract that two souls will have. And of course, the rest of us looking at it, it won't make sense. But that person will wake up, and then their family typically won't recognize them because they'll be a completely different person. They'll have completely different tastes in food, and they'll have completely different tastes in clothes and so on. So I've helped a few people in those situations. But there's a different type of walk-in, which I've gone through, and I know many people have, which is why I'm sharing it, where you'll have a spiritual awakening that you won't even know is coming, such that you're basically like a new person. And it's basically like really high aspects of your oversoul have decided to plunk in, either extract a version of you out and plunk another version in, or just plunk another version of itself in. So I'm going to say this might have been around 2010, 2011. I was driving with some of my clients to Toronto for this annual conference I would teach on Akashic Records. So it was kind of a way to get all the consultants and the teachers together, and I would teach something new. But I had just had a walk-in experience. So I felt like my head was out of the car on the highway, like maybe by 12 feet. And I was speaking like this, and I just sounded like an angel. And I was constantly crying because I was just so happy. Like, it was the weirdest thing. I knew I was full on angel. I was weeping all the time, but they were happy tears. I had so much love coming out of me. Like, if I could adequately, which I won't be able to communicate how much love was coming out of me, it was just like those wedding tears almost, right? Where you just have, it was coming out of me. And of course they're laughing at me. But I was so in it that the guides would have to say, Jennifer, go walk the body to the bathroom. Jennifer, go walk the body to the kitchen and get a glass of water, because I was so out of my body. I was like, the human part of me was way out here, but this other version of me was still in the body. And it, of course, didn't know how to function in a body. So it didn't know it's time to go to bed. It didn't know it's time to go pee. It didn't know any of those things. So that was pretty profound. I would say that was my last significant one. But having access to the records, I believe that I got upgraded and calibrated, right? Because I was meant to bring through this next, body of work. But having the records allowed me to navigate that more easily, because I could just go in and ask for truth. The thing I love about the records is it's just love and truth. So some people don't always view truth as a loving thing. I personally do, because it sets us free. And I think a big part of our ascension journey is navigating this whole ascension descension continuum, because we're ascending. And as we're ascending, we're releasing density. So the density would be the illusions we're holding, the stories we're holding, just the stuff in the body, right? If we've got parasites, it can't exist in a body that's vibrating at a certain level.
Yeah.
But then there's this descension process that also needs to happen where, we go all the way up and we want to access information, but we actually have to bring that information back down. We have to bring it down through all the chakras, through the crown, through the third eye, be able to translate it through the throat, integrate it in the body. So there's an element of lifting up, but also simultaneously needing to ground things as well. And most healers I find, including myself, are really good at being out of the body. Like, we love being out of the body. We're like, can I ride another magic carpet? Where's the next magic carpet going to take me? What do you mean I have to be in this human thing? I don't want to be human, right? It's like, a lot of it comes from, we just don't want to be human. We're not so willing to admit that. But even if we're at peace with being human, it's way easier, I think, to ascend and be out of our body and be floating up here, right? Than it is to bring it down. And yet we chose to be in an embodied experience. We chose to have this physical experience. And additionally, if we want to manifest, like, if we're not available in the body to receive what we're manifesting, it just, that UPS parcel just stays at the warehouse, right? Waiting to be picked up. It can't even be delivered because nobody's available to answer the door. And so I would say that was one story. I've had people have past life experiences with me where they saw something in me, where they had such a heartwarming thing. I had a woman once wrap her arms around me and just melt into me. She was convulsing in tears. It was like a familiarity, but she slid down my body and she started kissing my feet. And the human part of me, of course, was like, I don't know how to deal with this. Like, I had a ton of people in the room watching. I, of course, I'm wanting to tend to her because I know the human part of her is mortified. I can hear it from her. She's like, why am I doing this? But something came over her. And of course, we unpacked that. And that was me in a previous life being a high priestess. And that was just part of the ceremony. When you're being initiated, you do that with your priestess and whatever. But the human, like those things, oh, at least they always happen in front of other people so that people could believe the stories. But additionally, when they happen in front of other people, you're aware of the harm you could do if you don't handle it correctly, right? And as a healer, we want to be honoring people in their process. But of course, the human part of me was like, why is someone like literally clutched onto my body, weeping at my feet and kissing my feet? I don't know how to deal with this, right? So of course, I had to go into my own records after that and find out what happened and shift that energy. And we've had tons of things. Even I had a guy that came to me years ago that had AIDS and cancer, and he'd done everything. And he knew there was at least I could take him on as a client because I knew that he was open to another way. I knew that he recognized and was really ready to receive, and he was ready to receive miracles. And so that's what happened for him. And all of a sudden his platelets were fine and his vitality was back and all kinds of things happened. And of course, even just carrying around a label like that at the time, right? They viewed it as a death sentence, and he had a double death sentence essentially, right? And so even that being pocketed into the body was pretty intense for him. So yeah, I could tell you stories out the yin yang, but from an ascension perspective, I think the more we work in the records, the more we start accessing these higher councils of light. We tend to be way more open to celestial councils and galactic councils and things that are they have a different vantage point to be able to guide us right now as far as how do we ascend into this. We call it 5D. We're seeing this lingo 5D, but really it just means, moving beyond this 3D stuff, right?
Yeah, 5, 8, 13, 22,
I know.
33, whatever. I've been there, done that, been all over. Yeah. So it's good though to have a common language, I think, for people who are really awakening now. So using the, it's wonderful that we have the internet and we have this way of communicating. I know you the same way. We've both been doing this for so long, pre-internet, pre-bookstore, before there was any information, really about what's happening to me or whatever. But the idea that we have this information, right, that's available, and for ascension. And I remember the first time someone said ascension to me, I thought, oh, I thought it was religious. I thought it was Christian or something. And I was a little like, nah, I don't know about that. And then it felt like something that was, oh, that's for someone else, oh, then they rise up and we all watch them float into the sky, and these different ideas. But the reality is like you said, that's what we're all doing. We're ascending, we're raising our vibration, we're raising our consciousness, we're able to access higher frequencies of information and communication. So how can people use that information that they receive from their Akashic records about who they are to navigate what's happening, their awakening right now?
Well, the information that will come through will provide like almost like it'll be like a lighthouse that shines a light on the direction you're meant to go in, because we're in the dark, right? We don't know where we're going next, and we're never, I say, like with the records, most people will drive in the dark with their headlights on, and then working in the records allows you to work with your high beams on. So they're still not going to show, a lot of us won't take action until we know the entire plan. And then we want to sit there and go, I don't know. I don't think I want, we're just never going to know, because we will never walk down any of the paths if we knew the exact outcome. And we want we want the lilies, right? And we want the tulips, and we want the fairies, and we want all the things. But then if we see a few potholes, we're like, no, I don't walk down roads that have potholes. It's like, well, but you're going to have all these fairies and you're going to have all these things. And people are like, no, but there's 1 or 2 potholes. I'm good. I'm going to pass. Right. Yeah. So we're just very cute that way. So we don't get shown the whole path, but at least we're guided in the direction we're meant to go. So we're not spending energy hanging out in situations or moving in directions that actually are not aligned for what's in our highest and best interest, right? We have free will, so we can exercise our free will. But in exercising our free will, if we're not aligning to our divine plan, then we will get the crunchy bits and the sticky bits and stuff, because we have this feeling like, oh, something's not quite coming together. I don't know what it is. So the records will tell us, here's where I need you to start moving your energy. Here's what you're going to be mastering right now, or here's what I need you to go and share. Like last year, I went and had an astrology reading as well. And all these years I'd been guided to get into real estate, to be teaching about the energy of money. I had no idea it was actually in my astrology chart that it is my purpose to teach about wealth consciousness. So last year when all of this was happening, I'm like, but there's so much to do. There's so much happening around the world. Where do I start? And do I go out and protest? And what do I do with it? You know, I just didn't know, because I felt like I wanted to get involved in it all. And she said to me, actually, you're not here to do any of that in this lifetime. You've already done that. You're here to experience and be in joy. You're not even meant to get involved in any of this. I'm like, but I can't do that. That is not who I am. I don't know how to sit back and she's like, no, if you do want to do something, and she said, you don't have to. In fact, your mastery right now is learning how to just be without having to do anything. And I'm like, well, I'm not there yet. So give me something to do. So she said, well, if you are going to do anything, your purpose on this planet is to elevate wealth consciousness. So that's, if you're going to offer anything this year, then offer that. That's what's going to make sense. Well, that was a huge relief for me, because then it dictated what I was going to offer last year, how I was going to help people, what types of summits I was going to say yes to, how I was going to gear my podcasts and all the things, because I knew where my energy at least was meant to go and where it was not meant to go. It doesn't mean I fully listened as I share it. I still exercise my free will. But if I had have, let's say, kept pushing with something that my ego mind thought, oh, this will be fun to offer, then it probably would have been sticky and crunchy, because that's not what I was being called to do at that time. So it can give us timelines on, well, even right now, there's a lot of moving energy. As we know, it's a 5-year anyways, numerologically, but there's a lot of uncertainty this year. There's a lot of people moving, I think, for, I'll say, the right reasons and the wrong reasons, meaning that there's a big difference between running from and running to.
Yeah.
And sadly, with everything going on in the world, there's a lot of people that are running from, and I do not begrudge that at all. I totally see why people are doing that. And the reality is it's just going to happen this year, because it's a 5-year and energy is meant to move a lot in a 5-year. But with that is my point. There's a lot of places that people are vetting to see what's the safest place for me to live on the world. Where's this place in the world where I'm going to be more free? And not all of us are meant to be in the same place, even though energetically it might look like, well, all of my friends, there's a lot of people moving to Costa Rica, for example, right now. So people are like, well, I guess I should go there too. Well, should you though? Like, is that in alignment with your highest plan? Let's find out, because you might not be called to be there. It might be your purpose to hold the light in your human vessel and anchor the light and anchor the grids here in, like, Minnesota, for example, right? You might not be, and you still have free will. And yes, you can go to Costa Rica, for example, but if your highest timeline says it, you're actually meant to stay here, and you trust and know that the guides are guiding you here, they're going to have you fully resourced, they're going to protect you, then what would feel better for you, to go to Costa Rica or to be here and fulfill your purpose? There's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of how then do I live with the decisions that I'm making.
Yeah. And it's a challenge too. I think, like you said, a lot of people want to move and want to go places, or are tired of what they're seeing. And I feel like a lot of this is unplugging, right? Unplugging from the drama around you, whether it's in your family or in your country or at your job, and having that alignment that you're talking, that inner authority that you listen to, because the logic and the planning, I have this plan, like you said, I need to know everything. That's been such a joke to me for so long now, and in years now. Even my clients are like, every time I make a plan, it seems to fall apart. It's like, because we're in a much more fluid environment. And then, like you said, when you do listen and you do accept who you are or where you are, and you actually gain what it is from that experience or that moment, then it's like the next truth opens up, right? Then the next thing can open for you. So, well, why don't you guide us on our
Okay.
little Akashic journey here?
We're going to go deep today, if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's sit up nice and straight. We'll roll our shoulders back so we can open up our collarbone and open up our heart center. Take a nice deep breath, becoming aware of how alive you are in this moment and breathing out all of the energy that no longer serves. You see a golden pyramid that you can walk in. It's open and spacious. It's just the frame made with gold. You're going to step into this pyramid. This pyramid is easily 15 feet tall and 15 feet wide. Inside, you'll see it begin to fill with white light, almost like clouds, filling with an immense divine presence. You feel your body expand. And now that you feel that your body has become one with this white light, in your mind's eye, you see a golden door appear, and you just know that you're meant to walk through it. It's calling you, and so you step towards it. And as it opens, it leads you through to a golden path. This golden path leads you towards a temple out in the distance. And as you're walking one foot before the other, you feel the presence of nature. You hear the birds chirping. You smell the fresh air. You feel the sun beaming on your skin. With each step you take, you feel lighter and lighter. And before you know it, you're standing at the base of the stairs, ready to ascend into this magical building, this magical temple. It looks very familiar. It feels very familiar. And you notice at the top, it says Hall of Records. So you begin ascending the stairs towards these big golden doors. And you'll notice, are the doors opening for you and inviting you in? Or are you needing to open the doors yourself? Once you're inside, you notice the beauty of the floor. You notice the height of the ceiling. And you notice the floor to ceiling, wall to wall books everywhere. Sacred books that hold all of the information about you. And in this space, you feel at home. You feel intact. You feel expanded. You make your way over to the bookshelf. And as you're about to sit down in a big puffy chair, a book pops out. When you read the side of the book, it says, Book of Ascension. So you open it to the page that you're guided to open from, and you begin reading. This information may come through as sound and vibration. It may come through as visuals. It may be audio, deep sense of knowing, smell, you may actually be able to read the text and know what the text means. Whatever your way is, you're about to receive information about your next phase of your ascension journey. So I'll give you a moment to be with that information. And as you're sitting here, you're going to ask your guides how to upgrade your physical body to hold more light. They may just facilitate that for you. They may provide you with some practical guidance. You can ask them how to ascend to the emotion that is going to be your new resting place, that default place that you feel even if you're not consciously paying attention to how you're feeling. You're spiraling up the emotional frequency. You're ascending up into your mental body, asking how to live and be from your higher mind. And if you're ready, asking your guides what the next iteration of your purpose is. And asking them to show you that, asking that sensation to be imprinted into your field. In this awareness, you know that you can return back to this place whenever you choose. You ask your guides, you ask from the book if there's anything else that you need to know at this time. You trust and know that you're going to remember all of this, that all of it is going to be imprinted. You can relax into the knowing that it's already been integrated as you gently close the book and place it back on the shelf. As you stand to walk back towards the doors, you feel an immense amount of gratitude for your homecoming, and you're looking forward to coming back to this place again and again. You descend the stairs from this sacred building. Joyfully take the golden path back to the pyramid. Step back inside the pyramid filled with white light. Integrate these energies as well into your field. With your eyes closed, you give yourself permission to drop back into this now moment, into your body, feeling how heavy your feet are, adjusting your posture. Shrugging your shoulders up and down, moving your hips from side to side, maybe doing a little bit of circling in your space that you're sitting in. Circling the other way, letting the energy move up your body. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes.
Oh, wonderful. I never want to come back, especially these quickie ones. So I'm always like, okay, have a good day. I'm going to go over here. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love
I
it.
should probably just record some longer ones because I feel like in a lot of ways it's just meant to be a snapshot, right? And yes, we can absolutely hang out there forever, and it feels good to hang out there forever.
It does. Yes. And so when people receive information, a lot of times I notice that, like you were mentioning before, we're learning to not just access these higher levels and then integrate them up and down and in and out, but to decipher the meaning outside of our conditioned mind and our egos. So, do you have any tips for anybody as they receive this information, how to settle with it in the clearest possible way?
Mm, it's a great question. I think it's good to write it down because sometimes we get downloads that make zero sense in the moment because the aspect of us that receives it in this moment isn't the version of us that's actually living it. It's not until we live it and we look back that we're like, oh my goodness, I got this download 6 months ago. So I always recommend writing it down. And I do recommend moving the body right after these kind of sessions. I'm not talking rigorous, although if that's your thing, that's fine. It could be lying on the ground to get grounded, putting your feet in the grass. It could be a lot of things. It could be going for a walk. It could be jumping on a trampoline. It could even just be drinking a glass of water because, we can feel that. We can feel it going down into our stomach. We can't help but be aware of our body when we drink water. But of course, too, water moves the energy as well. But doing something to move the energy. And then I would suggest just being for a little bit. Try to avoid extra stimulation that's going to change up the signals, right? The radio frequency, so to speak. And definitely do not make asking everyone and your uncle what this thing means, right? Because everyone will have a different perception based on their frequency, based on what they perceive and believe about you and the world and themselves. And then we end up getting more confused when we ask for too much input.
Yeah, great point. I love that. I unplugged from that many years ago, probably at least 15 years ago. However, it's fascinating, that tendency. I think that's what we've been conditioned to do is what do you think? What do you think? I need someone else to, have this. And yeah, developing that own inner knowing. And being with I don't know what I received, not being frustrated, letting it settle in and unfold, letting it come up when and in the right way. So, well, good. So I want to share Jennifer's free gift is called Soul Acceleration: Uncover Your Soul's Purpose, and her. Well, we have the link here, and we'll have the link for you. And share your website.
It's souljourneys.ca. So make sure .ca, not .com. And I just had it redesigned and I'm so excited because everyone always told me they couldn't do this one feature for me. And I finally found someone that could, which is being able to come on my site and click a mantra. So you just click on a mantra and it'll just keep sliding until you land on it again and you'll
Oh,
get your mantra for the day, like
nice.
message from the Akasha, I should say.
Yes, yeah,
And so I'm really excited about that. I always wanted a website that was fun to play with and fun
yeah.
to land on. It's like basically pulling an oracle card, but it's a message from the Akasha. So it makes it a little more fun to go to my website now.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so fun. Um, so I'm going to share. I asked you for a quote that embodies sort of your philosophy at this time. You said, "We're here at this time because we already know how to navigate these times, and we're fully resourced in doing so." I love this. I say we're here on a fully funded mission. That was, and that we've forgotten that when we feel alone or we feel like we don't know or we feel like bad things are happening and all that. So what would you like to leave us with? What would you like to share just as we close?
Ooh. I think I would just reiterate that, like, the Akashic Records for sure are going to help us feel at home. We're going to feel fully integrated, fully like ourselves, like, oh, there I am. And in that space, we definitely know that there's a reason. Our soul, even though our human self right now, and I get it because I've had these thoughts too, like, what were you thinking? Why did I sign up for light worker duties during the Great Awakening? Like, why couldn't I have just stayed somewhere else? Right. But we are here. And I do believe that what we're mastering right now is living in the paradox, right? How do we hold all of these awarenesses? How do we live in the mundane of I still have to brush my teeth and I still have to, have a shower and buy groceries and all the things? How do I hold space for other people? How do I allow this to be a spiritual journey? How do I allow myself to see into the future and prepare for that? But then how do I also allow myself to be present to all of this, even the crunchy bits and the really uncomfortable, messy bits? How do I allow myself to be present to it all? Because there's a reason my soul wants me to be here now. And I don't maybe fully understand it, but I'm just going to give myself the gift of presence as best as I can.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And it's really important. It's important to love and accept yourself the way you are, everything that's happened, everything that you think you should have done, right? All of those bits and pieces, instead of being in the ego judgmental mindset where we're never good enough, or we're sort of trying to ignore or suppress parts of us. So, because gosh, can you imagine if everyone just went, okay, who am I meant to be? Then the flow that would happen, and we're, like you said, we're in a body, we're on the planet, things are changing, it's messy, but it isn't wrong, right? There's a difference between this is wrong and I wish this wasn't happening to, okay, what's the best way to walk through this? So wonderful. Well, thank
Mm,
you so much, honey. I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing.
thank you.
I appreciate your life. I appreciate that you've accepted who you are, and that you're here. And I'm very excited to see what unfolds for all of us. And make sure you get Jennifer's Akashic or pre-gift and do this again. Feel free to repeat this recording and enjoy the experience, deepen it, and listen, listen, listen. So, okay, thank you. Take care. Okay, everybody. So, what we'll do is we'll see you on the next one. And remember, we've got all the free gifts for you. We've got everything about Jennifer, about all of our different speakers, so you can resource them. They're on your special page, they'll be in your emails. There's links below if you're seeing this on YouTube. So, make sure you reach out and let us know if there's any other questions you have. And enjoy a beautiful and blessed day. Namaste.